Hey, we're back with another episode of Fiction Fellowship. I finished The Christmas Ring by Kingsbury, and I had been on hold for it for about 11 weeks. And I was hoping to get it done before Christmas, but it didn't come available until this past week. So I got to read it, and it was so good. Kingsbury is one of my favorite Christian authors, and she writes so well, and her stories are just so incredible, and you can really relate to the characters. So The Christmas Ring is, it starts off with, it talks about this guy named Bill Bailey, and it is World War II, and he's fighting in France, and he's hiding behind some bushes with his men, and he's like all hunkered down, and he finds this ring down in the dirt, and he pulls it out, gets all the mud and dirt and everything off of it, and it's this beautiful ruby ring, and it has like diamonds all around it, and like out in the war and everything, he's real discouraged and everything, but he feels like he has some hope finding this ring, and he decides to keep it. So then it's present day, and Vanessa and her daughter Sadie go to Colorado to do some skiing, and she has been wearing that ruby ring for a long time because Bill Bailey was her great-grandfather, and he passed it down through the years, and now she has it. So she's been wearing it for a long time, and her daughter are skiing, and she loses the ring, and she doesn't realize it until later on that she doesn't have it on, and she realizes that it's somewhere in the snow probably, and so she asks the people at the ski resort, if you find a ring, let me know, here's my phone number. And they never found it, and so she's praying, please God, please let the ring be found, and it isn't found. So she has to fly back to Georgia because that's where they live, and she just prays every day that it's been found. And 4 years later, her and Sadie are in a different town in Georgia. She just drops Sadie off at college, and she goes to an antique store because Vanessa just loves antique stores, and she's always thinking that maybe one day she'll find her ring. So she goes to the antique store, and she meets this guy, Ben, and they kind of hit it off because they're both widowers, and she tells him that, she lost a ring, and she's hoping that one day she might find it. So since they hit it off, they exchange phone numbers, and Vanessa goes back to her town, and he stays where he is, but they kind of keep like a little relationship going. It's pretty casual, but it's like texting, FaceTiming, and all that. And she does visit him once, and then he decides to come to her town for a military dance that she puts on. And then not too much longer, this guy from Colorado calls Vanessa and says he thinks that he saw her ring. And she's like, what do you mean you think you saw it? Well, did you have it? And he says no. He says that he was putting a bunch of antiques like that nobody wanted into like boxes and was sending them off to different antique shops to be sold. And he says, I think I've narrowed it down to about 3 antique stores where I think your ring could be. And he says, but I'll call you when I find out more details. Well, in the meantime, Ben's dad, who is one of the co-owners of the antique shop, he gets a box, and he opens it up, and he sees this ruby ring, and he's like, oh my gosh, this thing's beautiful, I have to go get it appraised. And so he gets it appraised, and it's worth $25,000. And Vanessa had said that her ring was just a costume jewelry ring. So then after he gets it appraised, he finds a buyer for it. And then he shows Ben the ring, and he says, look at this. He says, I have a buyer for it. They're coming on this date to buy it. And he says, we're going to be doing so well. We're going to take a trip to Italy with this money and everything. And Ben looks at it, and he sees that there's like some engraving in the ring, and he reads it. And Vanessa had said that engraving was in her ring. And so he's putting 2 and 2 together that this is the same ring. And his heart starts pounding because he knows that his dad had a buyer for it. So I'm going to stop there. So you have to read this book. It is so good. Definitely a typical Kingsbury movie where it just fills your heart with joy and everything. And what happens with the ring? Does it get sold? Does she get it back? You don't know. So I just wanted to do that review for you, and I hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.